Well, hello again. So it is officially Tuesday. It is a Tuesday in June. I don't know the actual date, but we are now officially down here in Luray, Virginia. Very happy for that. So we drove down from the Laurel Highlands in Pennsylvania today. It was about a 200-mile drive. We drove down here to Luray, Virginia, because we'll be going and exploring mainly while we're down here, the Shenandoah National Park for the next week. And overall, it was a good drive today. I do have to say, because I've been doing this whole travel trailer thing for a while, and I do have to say one of the things that I'm finding is it's kind of like anything in life. It's like anything in life. Like when you first start doing something, you want to like go, more. And then the more you do it, the more you realize that the relaxed way of going may be the better bet. So I have to say, like before, I mean, we booked it across country before. We went all the way from Baltimore to the Black Hills of South Dakota in like 3 days, which that was a haul. And now, like, we went from Baltimore to the Laurel Highlands. That was like 200-mile drive. That's a real nice, easy drive. That's a nice, easy day. And then today, we went from Laurel Highlands down here to Luray. It was right around 200 miles. And I have to say, 200 miles is a nice, easy drive. It might not be the most adventurous thing in the world, might not be the coolest thing. It's not like you're sitting there going, yeah, man, I drove 200 miles today. You're just kind of like, yep. Woke up in the morning, had some coffee, walked around for a little bit, came back, did a little this, did a little that. Hooked up the trailer. Then we drove. And, we stopped for a couple potty breaks. And we stopped for some gas. And, right? And again, maybe it's that 2 months to 40 that's doing it to me. But I have to say it's pretty nice. And I do have to say, like here in the United States, it's easy not to realize it. But 200 miles is a pretty decent distance. Especially if you're not looking for massive changes in scenery. Like obviously we're still on the East Coast, so we're basically still on the longitudinal line. We're still on basically the same longitudinal line. So obviously we've got trees and we've got greenery and all that kind of stuff. But it is different too. I mean, Virginia. If you've ever been to Virginia is definitely different than Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is a solidly northern state. Virginia is a solidly southern state. And so it's warmer down here, like we're down here, and it's definitely a lot warmer. And there's a lot more fields, a lot more open. People are a little bit different. People are nice. Like once you get out in the country in the United States, most places people are nice. Unless you're up in the Northeast. The Northeast is one of those places that they pride themselves on being pricks. What was it? I ran into somebody who was talking about Massachusetts, and he was talking about massholes. And that's the thing, like in a lot of places in the United States, people have turned into pricks because of just the modern world. Like they don't really mean to be pricks, and they don't really want to be pricks. And if you look them in the eye and you tell them they are a prick, they'll actually feel kind of bad about that. They'll still be a prick, but they'll feel bad about it. But like you go up to like the Northeast, and you call them a prick, and they'll put out their chest a little bit. They'll kind of strut. They'll be like, damn right. Took me years to become this kind of asshole. But most places, especially in the U.S., we get out to rural areas, people are pretty nice. So the thing is, Pennsylvania, rural areas, people are nice. But you come down here, there's just a little more slowness to it. Again, like I say, the Southerners do things just a little slower. And there is something weird. There's a line. It's called the Mason-Dixon line. Sadly, most people in the United States don't even know what the hell the Mason-Dixon line is. But during the Civil War, the Mason-Dixon line was the line between the North and the South. And there really is, there's just a difference. I don't know what it is. It's something weird in, the human psyche, where we come up with these weird lines. And it really is, there is a difference, depending on what side you go. It may not be huge, it may not be massive, but it's just enough of a difference. And it is curious. So we're down here in Virginia. Virginia's for lovers, Virginia. We'll be down here for the next week. And like I say, we'll be taking a look at the Shenandoah National Park. We'll be taking a look at Luray and all that kind of stuff. It is funny. My wife was talking about maybe going back to Luray Caverns, because we actually got married in the caverns. That's right. That's how cool we were 9 years ago. 9 years ago. We actually got married in Luray Caverns. You want to talk about cool wedding? That was like an awesome wedding. Oh, that was such a great wedding. And it was actually surprisingly relatively inexpensive, because my wife got a wedding planner, and at first I was like, oh, why are we getting a wedding planner? But then I learned wedding planners are a great thing. Wedding planners are kind of like computer repair people. Like, yeah, you could do it yourself, but if you're an accountant, you probably shouldn't. Like, wedding planners just know they just know how it works. Because that's the thing, is like, a wedding is this huge project that you're going to do once in your life. And it's a huge project. You got to have bands, and you got to have venues, and you got to have this, and you got to have that. You got to have like 20 moving parts, and you got to get them all to work together. And you're only ever going to do it once. That's the thing. Like, if you're building out a server room, you may screw it up the first time. You may kind of hash it up the second time, but once you get to the third, fourth, and fifth time, it'll go really well. Well, here's the thing with your wedding. We're hoping you don't get to the third, fourth, and fifth time, right? And so the issue is, like, when you get married, there's just so much going on. And so my wife convinced me to get a wedding planner. I think we spent about $2,000 on Lorez. And Lorez was fucking awesome. That was, let's see. The things that I love: my Ford, my MacBook Pro, my travel trailer, and Lorez, the wedding planner. Some of the best purchases I've ever made in my life, right? That was just the best $2,000 I think we ever spent in our life. And so my wife wanted to get married into a cave, and I groaned. I was like, oh, how horrible this is going to be. And then Lorez was funny, because she was like, well, that's going to break your budget. But then the weird thing is, because normally when you have destination weddings, the price gets stupid. But the funny part was, coming down here to Luray, everything was like dirt cheap. She would like come back to us, and she'd be like, you have no idea how much we just got the rehearsal dinner for. And we're like, why? How much? She's like, well, half what I thought it would be. Like, everything down here, just to think about it, if you're going to have a wedding and you're in like the DC Baltimore area, like, we had a destination wedding here, and it came in well under what she was like shocked. And we had a lot of cool stuff going on, right? So like when we get married, right? We got married at night, because we got in the cave, and so they had to wait for everybody to be out, right? So before the wedding, there's like this little historic place around here, historic whatever, where they have events. So before that, we had nice food and nachos, and then we had a mariachi band wandering around while we're all waiting for the wedding. Then we go to the wedding, and you go down, so everybody walks down, and there's all the chairs set up, and beautiful flowers, fucking amazing, right? And then once you get down, we had a string quartet playing. You got the cello and the violin and all that in Luray Caverns, right? So we go down there. That was just amazing, right? And then do the whole thing, do the whole spiel, and then at the end of it, we had a gospel choir sing everybody out of the cavern. Hallelujah, coming to the light, coming to the Lord, all that, right, going out. And then everybody went back to the other thing. And again, just one of those things to be thinking about in life, how things don't go. Like, normally, like I say, when we told Lorez what we thought we wanted, she was just like, God damn, it's gonna be expensive. And actually I swear to you, we came in 3/4 of our original budget. So, something to think about. But yeah, that was, Luray Caverns. That was a once in a lifetime, just down there, and it was just amazing. Well, it's funny, because my wife was like, hey, maybe we can go back to Luray Caverns. And it's just like, it's one of those weird things, and that's where, as you get older, as you start to realize, it's like there's some things you never want to go back to. It was like, that was like such an amazing thing, and it was such an amazing event, and I'm not sure I ever in my life want to go back to Luray Caverns. Like, ever, because it can literally never be that good again. It's not like I went to Luray Caverns and I met my wife. It's like literally what we did in Luray Caverns, like, will never, I mean, at least for us, will never happen again. So it's kind of like, you know, you think about that, you wander through just with a normal tour group, and you just go through, and there's not flowers, and there's not a string quartet, and there's not gospel singers singing you out. And you're like, yeah, I don't know. So she talked about that. And I'm thinking personally, like I say, there are things in life that, I don't know, should just stay locked in time. It's like, yep, that's the last time we went to Luray Caverns, and maybe that should just be the last time we ever go. Just so that memory is always there. But yeah, that was one hell of a wedding. We had a cool fucking wedding. That's one funny thing, like, somebody I know brought up that whole idea about me vlogging, and they're like, "Well, do you really think you can make money off of this whole vlogging thing? I mean, you did well off of, you know, the computer and the instructional videos, but can you do well off of vlogging? You know, you got to look at what happened to Chris Pirillo." And here's the difference between me, I think, and Chris Pirillo. And again, I have all the respect in the world for Chris Pirillo. Again, he's done Vlogger Fair. He has done a lot of good stuff for the community. So do not think I'm snarking on Chris Pirillo. I just don't understand why he went off to the vlogging thing. And the reason that I would argue that my vlogging is different than his vlogging is because, honestly, my life is pretty fucking interesting. You know what I'm saying? It goes back to the whole quote I said before, you know, where I was off, what was it, when I was like 22 or something, and I go to my college to meet the librarian that I was dating on Tuesday afternoon, and she was like, "Oh, what were you just doing?" It's like, "Oh, I was taking flight lessons." She was like, "Oh, of course. That's what everybody does on a Tuesday." And so, I mean, as I say, go back to that whole thing about, you know, my Tuesday. The reason that I think, hopefully, that this vlogging channel will do better than Chris Pirillo's, which is literally, I think, still losing subscribers, is because my life is actually interesting. Again, you look at what Chris Pirillo did. He went from doing technical videos to doing vlogging. I mean, he's got a pretty boring suburban life. I mean, no offense to him. I mean, his wife's cute, and his kid's cute, and his Legos are cute. But I mean, like, how many people really want to watch him playing with Legos and his kids every day? That's not really that interesting. I, on the other hand, this wide, wonderful world, this is what I'm trying to show you folks with the vlogging. And again, like I say, it's going better. It's going good. I'd like to get some really interesting stuff. Because that's the thing, man. The shit I got into when I had no purpose getting into shit. That's me wandering in going, "Hi, hello." People are like, "Why are you here?" I'm like, "I don't know, it looked interesting." They're like, "Okay." So if I got into the places I got into before, when I was just a dumbass, just an aspie wandering in going, "Hey, you guys looked interesting." Imagine if I actually get paid doing this stuff. So that's why I think that's why my vlogging will do better than some folks. It's just like I say, it's that whole interest angle. Actually going out there and doing something interesting. And that is one thing for any of you folks to be thinking about, that you want to be content creators. Is, again, if you're going to be a content creator, because I know a lot of folks out there are like, "Oh, Eli's talking about being a content creator. I want to be a content creator." Here's the thing, right? If you're going to be a content creator, one of the things, the biggest thing that you have to realize is all of your content has to be creating something of value to the viewer. Again, as I say with my content, where the story arc of my content correlates but is not the same as the story arc of my life. And people get confused. Well, what does that mean? I mean, obviously you're traveling around, and obviously you're doing videos when you're traveling around. What do you mean that the story arc of Fail Normal correlates but is not the same as the story arc of your life? And basically the thing is there are a lot of important things, fundamental things that happen in my life, again, as I say, that just won't show up in these videos. One, because they're personal, but two, because they're also just boring as hell, right? You know, if I have a rather normal argument with my wife, that just doesn't need to be in these videos. Because you people don't care. You don't care. Again, as we talk about, as my wife said, she stopped getting irritated when she heard me talking about her because she realized that I wasn't talking about her. She was like, you're talking about your YouTube wife. I'm your real wife, right? Because that's the thing. It's like the wife I talk about in my YouTube videos correlates to her, but isn't actually her. I would argue it's closer to her than she would like to believe, but it's still different, right? We can have that argument. And the reason is because when I talk about my wife or when I talk about other people, I talk about my father or something, you guys don't care about them. You care about the story of them. That's what makes them funny. That's what makes them interesting. It's like if you watch a biography, you watch a movie, right? And it'll be a movie like The Aviator. What was his name? Not Hugh Hefner. Howard Hughes, right? Howard Hughes was probably like one of the most interesting human beings of the last century. And he got 2-hour movie. You know what I'm saying? Like one of the most interesting human beings of the last century. And they turned his entire life story into about 2 hours. And so that's one thing you have to think about if you're going to be doing content creation, is you have to be thinking about not, I want to unload myself onto the world, but what of myself or what of my stories are valuable to other people. And again, I would argue that is how you be successful in life with everything that you do, is if you always look at solving other people's problems, if you always look at providing value for other people, then you are valuable and they hand over cash. I know, it's a ridiculous concept. It's an absolutely ridiculous concept, but I found it to be true. If you give people what they find valuable, they then give you cash because it's valuable. It's just one of those things. So it is something to think about out there. And again, that's where I say, like I say with my vlogging, I see a lot of people talking about where they actually find this valuable, right? These concepts that I talk about, these things, whether they agree with me, whether they disagree with me, whether I'm preaching to the choir, or whether they completely think I've lost my mind. It's more that they hear these different points and they can think about it, and it's worth an hour of their time, right? So that's what you really need to be thinking about if you're going to be a content creator. And like I say, so that's why, again, I mean, if you look at Fail Normal up until this point, started, at least this version of Fail Normal, started in February, I think it is, being in, suburban, exurban Baltimore. We went off to Asia. We had the nice little adventures in Asia. We went back to exurban Baltimore. Now we're out traveling around the United States. And so that's why I think this will be valuable. That is something to think about, though. Remember, it's not. That's one thing people get confused about sometimes, is they don't really see what's valuable. You know what I'm saying? Like they think, oh, Eli talks into a video camera and he's able to be successful. Therefore, what will make me successful is talking into a video camera. And the talking is one aspect. And then it's all these other things that go into it in order to be something valuable, right? What can you pass on that is actually valuable? And that's one of the problems that I saw. Like there was one person I knew, and I really liked this person, I really respected this person, but it was I saw it, and it just made me shake my head. And they were young, right? They were like 22 or 23. And again, I think they will be very successful at the end of the day. Again, when they're 40, I think they will be successful. They're a bit flaky. They were a bit flighty. I talked with other people that had worked with them professionally. They were a bit flaky, a bit flighty, like a lot of you folks are, right? It's like, when you're 22, you're 23, it's not that you're not disciplined. It's not that you're not willing to work. It's not that you don't have motivation. You just don't know what to focus on, right? You focus on this, and you focus on that, you focus on the other thing, and it's one of those things that if you find something that really moves your soul, you will give it your all. But everything you're doing, it's not really quite right. So, flight, doing all this weird stuff, right? That's fine. Completely flaky, completely flighty, yeah, whatever. But then the funny part was, and this is where like so many of you, I think at 20 or 22 fall in, then the next thing they do is they become a life coach. And I just sat there and I remember like emailing one of our mutual friends. I'm like, what the hell are they doing? Like, I like them a lot. I really want them to be successful. Again, I think in 20 years, they will probably make a very good life coach. But they are flaky, flighty as right? And I think that's a problem like a lot of people get into. Like I say, if you're going to be vlogging, is again, you have to be thinking about, what can you actually bring to the table? What can you offer? It's not simply talking into a camera, but what is your life experience? What can you offer other people? And if the answer is nothing, then again, as I tell everybody when I talk about this, people are like, oh, Eli just says we suck. No, I don't say you suck. Well, okay, you may suck now, but it's okay to suck now. The thing is to understand where you're at, to understand what you want to do, and then to get there, right? So if you're watching me doing vlogging, and this is what you think will make you successful in life, yeah, I really want to vlog, and then you think about it, it's like, do you really have anything at all to offer anybody about anything? It's like, well, no, right? Do you have any real world experience? No. Do you have any deep, profound life lessons? No. Do you have anything like that's actually interesting to say? No. Well, then you know what? Go and do something that will get you that. Backpack around the world for a year, and then come back and talk about that. Be a groupie for whatever the latest version of The Fish or The Grateful Dead is for a year, and do that. Go travel around with the Renaissance festivals for a year and do that. Go into the startup world and try your hand at startup for a year or two, and then come back and talk about that. And so that's the thing to think about, because again, people think like, I want to do this now. And one of the things I'd have you folks think about is, okay, you want to be able to be a life coach. You want to be an instructor. You want to talk into a video camera. But do you actually have anything to offer? So if you don't have anything to offer, go out there and get something to offer, and then come back. And if you do that, you will be much more valuable. Again, like I say, because again, you look at Chris Pirillo. He's done a lot of good things. I just watch his little vlogs. I'm like, what the hell is the point of this? And again, right? That's not just me being snarky. It is if you look at his stats. Again, the only person I know who is constantly putting out videos and still losing subscribers. The only other time I've seen people lose subscribers on any kind of steady basis is basically just dead channels. Just dead channels, right? Because even like the Fine Brothers or Matthew Santoro or whatever, yeah, they lost subscribers for like 2 or 3 days, maybe a week, and then it went back to normal life. Like, his is the only one, like, putting out content, losing subscribers. You're like, oh, I'm just saying, maybe nobody cares. Maybe nobody cares. Again, if you're making money doing something else, fine, but anyway. Oh, so what we're going to talk about today, the big thing I think we're talking about today is sadly, I'm recording this in 24 frames per second right now. I'm so sad. So yesterday, I did the video in 24 frames per second because I was trying to see if I could get a smaller video size. So normally I've been doing 60 frames per second, 1080p, 60 frames per second. Beautiful video. Oh my golly, it looks like the spaghetti monster itself drew the images on the screen, right? The problem is those are huge files. So it's like 12 gigs per hour. So like an hour and a half video is like 17 gigs or something ridiculous, which especially at these RV parks can be a pain to upload. I have been able to upload them up until this point, but it gets a little bit difficult. It takes a long time. You can run into issues, right? So I thought, well, do I really need 60 frames per second? Maybe I can do 24 frames per second. Oh, it's horrible. So horrible. I was looking at the video yesterday, like after I'd recorded the video, I was like, oh, this is horrible. And it's so funny. This is how life goes. Because it was just like, oh, this is not what I want. Not what I want. I refuse. I will never do 24 frames per second again. It's a travesty of video. Forevermore, I will do 60 frames per second. And that was the decision I had in my mind this morning when I left the Laurel Highlands and drove down here to Luray, Virginia. And then we pull into the RV park here in Luray, Virginia, and my wife goes in to register us at this RV park in Luray, Virginia. And it is a beautiful RV park. It's just beautiful. It is gorgeous. It's surrounded by nature. There's very little road noise. It's got trails and wildlife and all that kind of stuff. And then my wife comes out and she says, Eli, I don't want you to cry. And I look around and I'm like, What could possibly make me cry? What could possibly make me cry? It's such a beautiful RV park. She says, they have no internet at all. At which point I was like, what? What do you mean they don't have any internet? And so this is actually the first RV park I've been to that genuinely has no internet. Like most of the RV parks that end up not having internet, it's one of those things where they say they have internet, they just have such bad wireless network and a bad internet connection that it is essentially worthless. You can barely even do anything like email. This is the first, I do have to say, I do believe this is the first RV park in our entire time that is just balls out, no internet at all. Which then leads to a problem. Because then it's like, well, what am I going to do? Because we're here for 7 days now. You know, this isn't a short. It's not too long, but it's not short. It's not like, oh, we'll be here for 3 days, and so maybe I'll be able to upload videos once we get to the next place. But we're here for 7 days, which means I will be pushing out another 5 videos between now and when we leave to the next place, and then when we get to the next place, we don't really know how the internet connection will be there. So what am I going to do? And so I was thinking about that. Today, right? And I was thinking about, I've been having conversations. I've been having a lot of emails back and forth with he who shall not be named. It's very sad I can't name that person anymore. People got irritated with me bringing up that person's name. So I won't bring up that person's name. But the reason that I've talked about that person is, again, because they're actually very interestingly going through a lot of interesting business concepts. Again, when I first brought them up, I figured I would bring them up every week or two. And then there was a lot of things that happened, and so I started talking about them a lot. Just kind of like one of those random things. But anyways, we had the emails going back and forth, and one of the things that we were talking about as that person does more and more content, as they're up to almost 150,000 subscribers now. Can you believe that? That person is going to have like 100,000 subscribers in a month. Like literally, went from like 60,000 subscribers to he's at 150 now in like less than a month, right? But one of the questions that came up is, as they're doing more and more videos, how to store all those videos, right? So I have all my videos on a Synology and a Drobo that backs up to Glacier, AWS Glacier. And so one of the questions that person brought up to me, the one that shall not be named, and said, well, how do you back up all of your stuff, right? And I said, well, you know, I've got about 4 terabytes of video files at this point. That's about 2,000 videos, I guess. Or no, about 1,000 videos. So I don't back up my my Eli Computer Guy Live videos. I figure those are basically trash videos anyway. I upload them and make money off of them. If they disappear, they disappear. I don't want to worry about saving those. So I have my Eli the Computer Guy videos, and I have my Fail Normal videos, and that's it. And that comes to maybe 4 terabytes, probably a little north of 3 terabytes. And he's like, I don't understand that. Because he has a lot less videos than I do. And he's up to like 6 or 7 terabytes already, 8 terabytes. And I was like, that's weird. And so we go back and forth, and we're talking about it. And it goes down to basically the codec you use and the resolution you use for encoding videos, right? And so with his hour-long videos or whatever, he's using like one of the highest codec, not one of the highest. The one of the highest would be like 300 gigs per video, but like a very high codec. So each one of the videos that he's producing is like 30 to 40 gigs. And so he was wondering, he was like, well, how can you have so many videos that you've backed up, but they're so small? And I went back and I looked at it, and what I realized, I hadn't really thought about this before, but so many of the videos that I created way back when, they were for back when I had my own infrastructure. And so back then, most people's bandwidth was a lot smaller than it is now. So I actually maxed the size of my video files at like a gig back then. So most of those classes that I did, that are still getting views, that are still making me money, right? Those actually have pretty piss poor resolution. A lot of those 1-hour videos are only like 600 megs in size. But you know what? They are good enough. They are, and here's the thing in life, right? They're 600, whatever the hell resolution that is, 480p or 680p or whatever the hell it is. You know, that is a good enough video resolution to teach you the OSI model or to teach you TCP/IP, or to teach you subnet masking, right? You don't need 4K, you don't need 60 frames per second to explain how, data recovery works, right? And so I was thinking about that, and then I was looking at my little mobile phone, my tethering, and so I have 18 gigs per month of LTE 4G connection that I pay $100 a month for. And even if I go over that, it's $15 per gig. And so I had to come to a decision. So the question is, do you create the highest quality product, but then you don't know if you will be able to regularly upload your videos? Or do you create a quality product that you know you will be able to upload all the time? And so I had to come to that decision. So why the resolution of this video is so poor, and why the resolution of many of my videos going forward may be so poor, is what I've decided is basically I'm going to encode these videos so they come to around 500 megs in size, so that I can then use my 4G phone, my iPhone, to be able to upload the videos. Because if I've got 18 gigs of upload, then, if you figure I do 20 videos per month, that means I have 10 gigs. I can burn 10 gigs simply uploading the video, and then you guys get the videos every day. I get to upload them. Everybody is kind of sort of happy. So that was the horrible, sad decision I had to make today, because it was so horrible. Like I said, I got done yesterday, and I looked at the video file for 24 frames per second. It was so bad compared to 60 frames. I was just like, oh, this is horrible. I will never do this again. And then I come here to where there's no internet access. And the worst part is, so now I'm going to, in fact, make the video quality even worse. So just so you folks know what's going on. So if you're sitting there like, where the hell is the high definition version of this video? It don't exist. It don't exist. That's right. The people in India and Malawi or wherever are getting the same quality video as somebody sitting in New York City is. But again, in life, as I say, you have to think about what is the priority. What is the real priority? Because again, that's where people get so lost. And again, like I say, it's with the grind. People get so lost in the minutia. Like, I like doing the Let's Live videos. I like wandering around and showing you folks all that kind of stuff. But is that what is most valuable to you folks? Is that the most valuable? I'm not saying it's not valuable. I'm not saying I shouldn't do it when I can. But is that the most valuable? And that's what I find is most people focus on that kind of thing. And then they say, well, I won't upload any videos until I can do exactly what I want to do. And then you end up not uploading any videos. And so that's the thing. Like, for me, that becomes the question. Do I not upload any videos while I am here? Or do I upload videos of a lower video resolution that are probably good enough for most of you folks, right? As long as you can see a tree in the background, as long as you know I'm outside, and as long as you can hear the birds and the bees and all that kind of stuff, and you can hear my voice, is the video resolution, all that, the most important thing? And I would say not. We will see. Maybe everybody like, no! If you don't do Let's Lives, we won't watch you anymore. But again, don't get lost in minutia. Don't get lost in minutia. That's the whole thing. And that's the thing, too, with the grind. That's where I talk about, like, with the grind. It's like when I'm sick and I still do videos. Or when I'm feeling under the weather and I do videos. Or things aren't going well. It's raining and I do videos. That's the whole thing. Is what's required to put a product out every day. There is always going to be a reason not to put a product out. You're not gonna feel good. You're going to be sick. You're going to be under the weather. You're not going to have a good idea. It's going to be raining. There's going to be this issue. There is always a reason not to put product out every day. And so what you have to think about is instead of focusing on the reasons you can't put a product out every day, what you need to do is you need to think, okay, is that reason really important enough? Right? Again, like I say, like when I put out the video when I said Louis Rossman. I said his name. Louis wins, right? And I did that one video, and it was like a 6-minute video. And again, I was feeling horrible. I was feeling sick. I was feeling like I just got hit with baseball bats. But I was like, I have to, the most important thing is that I put out a video today. And so I put out that stupid 6-minute video. Is it the best video I've ever put out in my life? Absolutely not. But I put the video out. So just like I put that video out, just like I've put other videos out, I will continue to put videos out even if they're only 500 megs in size, because what is the most important thing? The most important thing is for you to hear the dulcet tones of my voice. Because apparently a lot of people have been saying my voice is very AMR. Oh, what does AMR stand for? AMR is like this, like these sounds that do like weird things to your ears. I'm like, okay, you say so. You say I'm AMR, I'll accept AMR. I won't complain about that. I'm not sure. I've listened to my own voice. My own voice has never given me a tingly feeling up my back. But hey, if it does it for you folks, and AMR is a huge thing. Oh my God. Because somebody said something about AMR. And I was like, what the hell is that? And then I think it's AMR, right? Might be screwing that one up. But then I researched it. That's a huge thing. That's a huge thing. Like, a lot of people are into this. So you know what? If you people are watching for hey, wait. You can come for the advice. You can come for the scenery. You can come for the birds in the background. You can come for the AMR. I don't care. Whyever you come. Oh, so the question I want to go over today, that I want to talk about today, was an interesting one from one of the viewers. An interesting one. And let me be clear here. Just so everybody knows. So there can no be question about this. I am not a therapist. I am not a counselor. I am not a mental health professional. So, I just want that all clear. Because I get some questions from people like, why the hell should I continue living? And I'm like, there's cookies. Cookies are always good. You don't want to miss the cookies, right? It's just like, oh my God. One, I'm not particularly the best person in the world to ask that question. And two, have you heard about the cookies? Cookies are good. You don't want to miss ice cream, right? Oh, right. They don't have ice cream on the other side. I don't think. I don't know. But I got one of these questions really interesting from an Aspie, who apparently hasn't been able to deal with the world as well as I have. And so that's one of the issues with like Aspies, and a lot of issues with a lot of people in the modern world, is they don't deal with the modern world very well. The modern world is a weird, fucked up place. A lot of people say that I'm harsh, and a lot of people say that I'm snarky. And again, one of the reasons I get so confused about that is because the modern world is so fucking harsh and snarky. People are like, Eli, you're so negative. And it's like, have you seen the modern world? Holy crap. And again, people are like, oh yeah, well, in the United States. Oh, bite me. It's not the United. I've been to the United States. I've been to Europe. I've been to South America. I've been to Southeast Asia. I've been to India. I've been to Turkey. Right? It's not that the United States is a negative place. This world is just a balls-out brutal place. And so you get a lot of people that get confused about how to deal with the modern world. And especially, like I say, if you've got some kind of psychological condition which makes it difficult to be able to comprehend the modern world, it can make it really, 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 really difficult, right? And so the question then is, well, if you're not dealing well with the modern world, what can you do about it? What can you do about it? So what are my coping mechanisms for dealing with the modern world? Because again, like I say, I find it to be a weird, screwed up place. The first thing that you have to realize as a coping mechanism for dealing with this weird, modern, screwed up world is that most people are lying. Right? And this is a big thing to understand, right? Because especially, like I say, with my little Aspie brain, when I popped out onto this planet, most people automatically figure out what their position in life is supposed to be. They automatically drop down and they go, I'm a human, these other people are humans, I'm going to mimic them. I dropped down and went, okay, these people are humans, I'm something else, right? So I really didn't understand people, right? So for me, let's say, being my little Aspie self, whereas most Aspies get hyper-focused on stamp collecting or coins or some stupid thing, right? I got interested in humans. Because again, when I got dropped onto this planet, again, the last thing I heard from the spaghetti monster was, I said, move! right? So I came out like having to go up like full speed. And again, like not getting to therapy or anything. I was telling my wife about that the other day. Like by the time I was 18 years old, I had lived somewhere between 18 to 20 places. Truly. And when I say 18 to 20 places, what I mean by that is it's kind of the definition of what it takes to live somewhere. Right? I have been 20 places. How long does it take before you actually live someplace? Right? That's a big question. So when I got dropped down, trying to figure things out, dealing with a lot of people, again, I went from things like going to Rudolf Steiner, a Waldorf, Rudolf Steiner is is it not Montessori? It's Waldorf Salad. Anyways, Rudolf Steiner, which is an incredibly liberal school. It is just the most liberal school you were ever going to go to in your life. Like the Friends School looks like right-wing conservative compared to Rudolf Steiner. It's the type of thing you sit there and you sculpt things with beeswax, and you learn Norse mythology right beside Christian mythology, which is really great for somebody that's not really secure in the religions, right? There's all kinds of weird stuff, right? You have one teacher that follows you all the way from 1st grade to 7th grade. You learn German and French. You learn violin. These are normal classes. I mean, it's just a very liberal school. And so for me, I went through a few years as a place like Rudolf Steiner, when I was in elementary school, to then going to a West Virginia public school. Which is, about the antithesis of Rudolf Steiner, right? So basically for me, when I was growing up and with all the Aspie stuff, basically that was the thing, is I had to figure out all of these different people. I didn't get the comfort of growing up with one type of person and figuring them out. It was about the time I started to figure out how any type of person worked. I was being chucked into an entirely new position. That's just how it goes, right? So for me, I sat down trying to figure out, how all these people are. And so one of the big things that I found out with people is, like when you see happy people and when you see excited people, and they're talking about how wonderful their life is, the big thing you have to realize is most of them are lying. Most of them, 99% of the time, are completely and utterly lying. And so the big problem you have like with Aspies and other people like mental issues is they see all these happy, wonderful people, and then they think, why, if they're all happy and wonderful, why aren't I happy and wonderful? And so they then get depressed, right? Because not only are they not happy and wonderful, but obviously something is screwed up about them to not be happy and wonderful, and then they go into depression. And so the important thing to understand is most people have this idea that basically they fake it, right? They lie. Again, like I say, as an Aspie, lying just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Lying takes too much time. Lying takes too much energy. It's just not how the brain works, right? It's just not, like lying is just, why? I don't care enough about your opinion to lie to you. And again, I know that sounds horrible to a lot of people, but it really is true. Like, one of the reasons people lie so much is, again, they have the ability to intuit. So they know how other people feel about them. And then they want other people to not look at them badly. And so they lie so that other people look at them well. Here's the thing, for somebody like me, like I say, I don't give two shits what you think. Again, like I say to all the viewers out there, I'm not trying to be your hero. I'm not trying to be your hero. I'm not trying to be your savior. I'm not trying to do any of that shit. Here's the deal. I randomly found out that people like to hear me talk. I have to say, talking into a camera an hour a day is about one of the best jobs you can possibly have. Therefore, I talk into a camera an hour a day. It's not because I'm looking to be a hero to anybody. It's not because I'm looking to be a star. Not because I'm looking to be famous. I'm just thinking about it. I'm like, I've had a lot of shit jobs in this world. Again, I know how you can make a buck. I know how some people make a buck. And I have to say, this is the easiest way to make a buck. And so that's the thing, is like, so you go out there, and what you don't realize with all these people is that they're lying because they don't want other people to look poorly upon them. So you go out there, and you see all these people that say they're happy and it's wonderful and all this kind of stuff. You think they're happy, and then you get depressed because you're not like them. And what you don't realize is most of their lives are fucking miserable. Again, a lot of those happy marriages that you see are or the marriages are barely held together with duct tape. Again, you see people with sports cars, and you see people with big houses and all that kind of stuff, and you don't realize that that's all debt financed. I mean, basically, all it will take is a hiccup in the economy, and all of that goes away, right? They're working 60 hours a week, and that's the thing. Like, you see them, and you go to a vacation or you go to a party, and they seem happy and relaxed and wonderful, and what you don't see is that they're working 70 or 80 hours a week to keep the head above water. Again, like, you go and you see these kids, and that's one of the things I didn't realize, like, growing up, is I saw all these preppy kids. And actually, so that's the thing, is you grow up, and especially as like a freak. So again, I was from the 80s, 90s, freak punk thing. And so you look to the preps. And again, there's a little bit of jealousy with the preps, because you look at the preps, and they're getting really good grades in school, and they're all prim and proper, and everything's spit polished, and they're going to go off to the good colleges. And so there's a lot of that thought, like, oh, they have it so good. And then one of the weird things, like, I ended up dating a couple of preps at the end of high school. And then I was horrified to find out how horrible their lives are. So, like, you saw the freaks and you saw the punks, and they were smoking, and they were doing things out in public. Like, you knew how screwed up they were. Well, here was the thing, like with the preps, that was the thing. It was all quiet. It was all hush-hush. So they were actually 10 times worse than most of the freaks and punks. But they did it in privacy, right? So they would go home, and they would go into their parents', liquor cabinet and down half a bottle of something. But they did it in the privacy of their own home, and nobody knew about it, right? And and so that's one of the big things that you find, is all these people that are happy and wonderful and all that kind of stuff. It's a load of crap. So don't feel bad because you're not feeling great, because the reality is they probably aren't either. But that's a huge thing. And like I say, I see that with so many people. They're like, oh, but those people are having, happy, wonderful times. And that's one of the reasons, like, I do these videos like I do. And that's what I want folks to think about. Like, a lot of people say, like, I got a lot of complaints when I went to Asia about my negativity. Oh, you're so negative. But again, one of the reasons why I do these videos the way that I do is so that you see how it really is. I was excited, I was happy, I was cocky as shit before I went to Asia. I got my ass handed to me. Like, Eli, like, would you like some mayonnaise on your ass? How about we put a little lettuce and tomato after we grill your ass well done, right? Oh my God, I went to Asia, I got my ass handed to me. But then, like I say, as I come here, like, Laurel Highlands were amazing. I didn't think Laurel Highlands would be that great. That was amazing, that was wonderful. And now here we're down in Luray, Virginia, and this looks like it'll be great and wonderful. And so that's one of the things, is so you see with me, you see when I'm cocky. You see when I get my ass handed to me. You see when something I didn't think would be that great turns out to be really awesome. So you see all these different sides. But the thing that I want you to think about whenever people are like, oh, you're being negative about something, is because you're seeing what my opinion actually is. You think about it, like with a lot of the people that do vlogging out there, a lot of the people that do vlogging, right? I could have cut the videos in Southeast Asia to make that seem like the most wonderful time I had ever had in my life. Again, if I do an hour or 2 hours of video, I can chop that any way I want. I chop it personally so that it's honest. Again, it's my opinion. I'm not saying this is a fact. I'm saying these things are my opinions. But you get my opinion. But people can chop it so it seems wonderful. It seems like a dream, right? And so what a lot of folks are seeing now is they're seeing that the image that people portray, and then they think, oh, my life doesn't match up to that image. And then, like I say, they get depressed. So the first thing is don't look to what other people portray. Most of it is a crock of crap to begin with. Then the next thing that you need to be thinking about, and the big thing that you need to be thinking about, is what do you need? What is important to you? And again, Eli's 10 rules of life. Again, as I talk about, like with Eckhart Tolle spent 12 hours talking about the same 3 concepts. At the end of the 12 hours, people were still like, I don't understand. I'm like, agree with them or disagree with them, but how can you not? He spent 12 hours basically discussing 3 sentences 1,000 different ways. Anyways, And so again, the thing that I present to you guys again and again and again from different directions is one of the big things that you have to think about if you want to be happy enough or satisfied enough is to figure out what you need in life. Again, so I talk about this a lot with diets, and one of the reasons that diets piss me off, the Atkins diet, the South Beach diet, the fruitarian, the 30 bananas a day diet, or the raw till 4 diet, or this diet or that diet or the other thing, right? Because what happens is people pre-package these books. Again, like I say, with dieting. Eat better, exercise more, do what feels good. Do those things. That's pretty simple. But again, I can't sell a book off of that. Again, three sentences, right? Eckhart Tolle can talk 12 hours, right? I can't sell a book off of that. But the problem is so what people do is they go out there and they try to conform to these systems that other people have created. So this is what makes me happy. Therefore, it'll make you happy. Again, like I say, my wife, does all these different food plans and all that kind of stuff. And that's what you hear so much, is where they say, this is the way. This is the way. And that's why I scream a lot of times, because it's like, one of the things that gets lost is this may be the way for you, but that doesn't mean it's the way for everybody. Again, like I say, like for me, I've got weird food intolerances. And beans don't work out for me. Nuts don't work out for me. Sugar isn't good for me. Wheat isn't good for me. And it's funny, like so many times people get into arguments with me about this. Oh, well, you don't have celiac disease. So I don't know if I have celiac disease or not. I really don't care. I know when I eat wheat, I get really gassy and I get indigestion. Therefore, I don't eat wheat, right? I am not trying to conform to other people's views of how the world should be. I think about this a lot. One of the good lessons I learned from my Kempo instructor, right? So Kempo is an American martial art. Martial art's almost not the word for it. I hate saying... It's more like a combat system. I hate saying that because that sounds all cocky and arrogant or whatever, but it really is. It's what a lot of people don't understand with the martial arts. Is like there's a lot of other martial arts out there that are very good for tournaments. And like Kempo is just not very good for tournaments or stuff. Because like everything is like breaking a joint. You break a joint this way. And then you snap it this way, and then you twist it this way, and then you kick them in the knee. All right? Kempo is just it's just a very harsh martial art. And so the thing is, like a lot of times in sparring, or you hear the octagon, Kempo folks don't always do the best in the octagon, because you can't really hurt the other person. You can't, right? I mean, there's no joint locks, there's no breaks, there's no groin shots, there's no eye shots, and not only that, with Kempo, it's all based off of techniques. So basically what you do is you just train again and again and again and again, essentially on 150 techniques. So if somebody comes at you with a knife this way, this is what you do. If somebody comes at you with a knife this way, this is what you do. If somebody comes at with you a stick this way, this is what you do. And basically you just spend however many years it takes. It probably takes about 6 years to get a black belt. Just doing those techniques again and again and again, to the point that you don't even think about it. As soon as a strike is coming at you, you're just going into whatever. You don't think, 5 swords. You just go, blah, blah. Right? And so one of the things that came up is there's this whole BJJ thing. So the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, right? Gracie and all that. The greatest martial art in the world. Whip the hell. It took over the whole thing with the MMA, right? Went into the MMA and it's all the submission stuff. There's this whole idea, I don't know where they come up with it, that all street fights end in ground fighting. And that's why you should learn Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Again, just to be clear, for anybody thinking about martial arts out there, I've been in a lot of wacky, wild stuff. Never ended in ground fighting. Again, one of the things you have to think about, like when you hear people talking about street fighting, so you kind of got to think about what that is. Like, if you have 2 people squaring up against each other on the street, kind of goes back to that story I had about my friend who was the murderer, and then afterwards I said, was it really worth it? And he said no. It's like, if you are literally squaring up with somebody on the street, there's a better way to go. Again, like I say, with Kempo, it is somebody comes at you for some reason and you do whatever it is you do. But one of the things that was interesting is, with the whole Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, my instructor went up to like one of the big ninth degree black belts or whatever. And, with all this stuff, was asking him, well, how do you deal with this? How do you deal with this? We don't have ground fighting techniques. And the ninth degree black belt looked at him and said, yes, we do. It's like, no, we don't. We've got all, when you're standing. And the instructor said, and it's hard to explain because I've only got one hand, but he was like, no, it's just a different plane. You have this, when you're standing up, you have this technique, right? He's like, yeah. It's like, well, if you're at a 45 degree angle, you still have that technique. When you're flat, you still have that technique. Just because they change the plane of the fight doesn't mean you lose your techniques. And the interesting thing that the ninth degree instructor said, and again, this is a little sophomoric, but go with me if you're not a big martial artist. But basically what he was saying is that with all these different martial arts disciplines, the biggest thing that they try to do is that they try to frame the fight. So if you're a BJJ person, what you try to do is you try to frame it as a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu fight. So you get into there and you do all the grappling and you do their spider things or whatever, right? And that's the idea. And so what they try to do is they try to get you to fight within their mindset, within their framework. And then obviously you're not a master of their framework, and so they whip your ass. And so that's a thing, is you don't fight in their framework. You fight in your framework. So you've got Kempo when you're standing up. You've got your Kempo while you're on your back. You got Kempo at a 45 degree angle. You've always got Kempo. So always fucking use Kempo, right? Use what the hell we have trained you 6 fucking years, right? Go for the throat, go for the eyeballs, take the breaks, just, knee them in the nutsack, right? Don't go into their framework for how you fight. And again, for any like hardcore martial arts artists out there, that's a little sophomoric. But I think it's really true as far as with how life goes, is again, everybody's trying to get you into their framework on how they do life. I work a 9-to-5 job. That's how everybody should work. I got a college degree. Everybody should get a college degree. I have 2 kids and a wife. Everybody should have 2 kids and a wife. I'm not going to have any fun until I retire at 65. Right? And so what I've learned, and one of my coping mechanisms in life, is I Kempo my way through life. I know Kempo. I'm really fucking good at Kempo. So I'm not going to try this Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu shit. I'm going to do Kempo. I'm going to do Ilio, right? And so, that's the thing. Like I say, I look, we've got this, we got our nice little travel trailer right here, right? And we're living out of a travel. Is this what a 39-year-old should do? I don't care. It's what I'm doing. It's what makes me happy. It's what makes me successful. Again, I am talking into a video camera. I'm vlogging, right? Isn't vlogging something that 18 and 19-year-olds should do? Well, I don't know, but I'm successful doing it, so I'm going to do it, right? I don't have the normal. That's the thing is, like, people get so wound up in what they don't have, they don't focus on what that allows them to do. So, like, I don't have the normal connections to people that most people have. Like I say, I like Ron, and I like Ed, and I like Tony, and I like my friends and all that kind of stuff. And I like seeing them once every 6 months. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can have a very good friend I see once every 6 months. And so instead of sitting there and whining and bitching and moaning about, oh, why don't I have closer relationships with people? Then I can say, hey, you know what? That means I can basically travel around the world and then still see my friends as often as I want. I can travel around the world and see my friends as much as I want. Because I want to see them 2 times a year anyway, right? But that's the thing, is like people focus on, why am I not being successful in other people's frameworks? Again, it's like those fucking diets. It's like those diets, right? And so they get this diet in their hand and they say, okay, this is how I should eat. And then they worry and they complain and they get depressed because it doesn't work for them. And so what are they doing wrong? And it's not what they're doing wrong. It's that doesn't work for them. Right? And again, it's a lifestyle. There are people that do 9-to-5 jobs and they really like it. Again, I had an employee once and it was the most amusing thing in the world for me because they were a really great employee. They were incredibly smart, across the board. Can't say enough good about them. Did good work, blah, blah, blah. But that was the one thing. I told them, that they should go off and be a consultant or retire by doing the company thing. And they said, no, you don't understand, Eli. I need a 9-to-5 job. I need someplace that I need to be at 9 and that I will leave 5. And he was like, I will work my ass off between 9 to 5. If you give me a job, if you give me a task, I will work my ass off. He said, but if I don't have that, I literally do nothing all day. Not even like plays PlayStation 4, like literally just stares at a wall all day, like needs that discipline. And so that person needs that, right? For me, like I say, I can wander around the world, literally have no idea what's going to happen hour to hour, and that works out well for me. So that's good for me. Different people succeed and do well in different environments. Some people do well in the military. Some people suck in the military. Again, like I say, my stepfather, he excelled in the military. My stepfather was one of those guys. Back in the day, how things should be more, it was literally, he got caught joyriding for like the second or third time, as I understand. So he wasn't, again, like I say, my family, got caught joyriding. So he went before the judge, and the judge basically looked at him and said, we're going to make this real simple. You're either going to go in the military or you're going to go to jail. One of those options. You are going to be under government supervision one way or the other. You either get to go to the military or you get to go to jail. And you know what? He went to the Navy, and he excelled at the Navy. He was in the Navy 8 years. He got out of the Navy to try to go to civilian world because everyone's like, oh, fuck the military. I want to go back to civilian world. He was in the civilian world for a year. He just didn't get it. Went back in the Navy, ended up retiring after 23 years as senior chief, teaching at the Naval Academy. And then, like I say, he went out and made a lot of money until he died at 43. Again, out of the Navy. But he was one of those people. He excelled in the Navy. Probably if he had stayed in the military, he'd still be alive to this day, right? Did really well. Again, other people don't do well in the military. It all depends on your thing. But that's a problem, is so many people, they say, because I'm successful doing this, everybody should be successful doing this. And that's where everything kind of gets screwed up. So again, if you're sitting there and you're wondering oh, why does life suck? Here's the thing. Most people's lives aren't going as well as you think they are, right? Again, like I say, even for somebody like me, there's ups and there's downs. Again, like I say, my wife had cancer twice. Those were not good years. Now, that's better, right? So one thing is remember, most people try to gloss over. Most people make it seem like their lives are always going well. Therefore, when you see them and you think, why is my life not going as well as theirs? It's because their life isn't going that well. They're just lying their asses off. And then the next thing, the big other thing that I would say is just figure out what makes you happy. Figure out what makes you successful and stick with that. Again, like I say, for me being a business person, I could have continued to try to manage employees, and it would suck. I would probably die in a couple years from a heart attack. Me managing employees just doesn't work. Again, I've got my college degree, I've got a crap ton of technical certifications, I had the consulting company, I had all this. What any irrational human being would say I should do is I should start another technology business and build it up with employees and all that kind of stuff. And here's the thing, I suck with employees. I truly and utterly suck with employees. We can go into a whole bunch of arguments about why I suck with employees. It's just I do. So instead of doing that, I'm going to go around and I'm going to vlog. I'm going to talk into a camera for an hour a day. This works for me. Again, I'm not telling everybody in the world to go vlog. It works for me. figure out what works for you and go from there. Again, I think a lot of people, they're trying to conform to standards that are just unrealistic and stupid. And they don't realize it because everybody else is lying and smiling and saying, again, like I say, in the United States, I mean, we have so many people on like therapy and mental drugs and all that kind of stuff. And so many of these people that you see, the CEOs and the directors, all these people that you think are successful, are going to just a crap ton of therapy. And again, if they're really that happy, you don't need that much therapy. You know what I'm saying? Again, I'm not saying, oh, you shouldn't go to a therapist. But if everything's going so wonderfully for you, why are you going to that much therapy? How many drugs are you taking? You know what I'm saying? So that's my thought. That's my thought. Stop being so hard on yourself. Stop being so hard on yourself. Figure out what you need to do. And go from there. Again, like I say, I thought the whole house thing and all that was going to be great and wonderful. And it's just like, oh, this sucks. So I could sit there, and I could try to be normal, and I could try to smile. Screw it. I got my travel trailer. I got my truck. It's all good. Alright? But anyways, those are my thoughts for the day. We're at the hour and 5 minute mark. So I'm going to start trying to wrap these videos up at about the hour mark. At least so I can, again, like I say, I can keep the size down. The shorter the video, the smaller the size is. So we'll keep them about the hour mark. So, yeah, those are my thoughts today. Figure out what you need. Figure out what you need. Figure out what makes you happy. And then just tell the rest of the world to go to hell, right? If you're happy, if you're comfortable, if you're content, who cares if anybody else understands? It doesn't matter, right? They can be miserable. They can be miserable as a group. You know, do you want to be in a group miserable, or do you want to be alone happy? Just a thought for you. So with that, we'll call it a day. We're going to go in. We're going to see what horrible resolution this comes to at a 500 meg for an hour. So with that, we'll see you at the next vid.